Right, hey guys, welcome to Nova Combat. Today we're at the Tewkesbury Medieval Festival and here are some of the highlights of the day. That is no Orcorn.
Of the King Henry, Margaret's husband. He's brave, he's daring, he's intelligent.
He's a show-off.
He's adventurous, but he has one weakness, maybe, and that is he's impulsive. At a time when many another man would stop and think, the Duke of Somerset always goes into action. And today we'll see whether that's the stroke that will win the battle or that will lose it. The Duke of Somerset has only recently been made an Earl, and so he has everything to win and everything to lose. He's there loyally to support the side that's looked after him and made him their main man in the southwest of England and in Cornwall. So he's going on the field today, determined to ensure his family a place securely in history for all the decades to come. And advancing from your right, straight down in front of you, to the left.
If you're a Lancastrian, I suggest you do a bit of cheering, because we've got a very vociferous Yorkist voice over to the right of me here.
Warwick was killed at Barnet and Edward won, and it's only a few weeks before. He did very well there, so he's given a second chance, an 18-year-old lad commanding the entire left wing of a royal army. Once again, he's got a lot to prove to his brother to show that he's worthy of the trust given to him. Born with scoliosis, curvature of the spine, an extremely painful and debilitating ailment, which Richard has controlled since childhood with daily exercises to build his muscles, fit his armour around him. He's desperate to prove himself, a boy of 18 facing a hardened warrior of 28.
We're loaded with chain shots or with grape shots to cause maximum mayhem, really. Neither side yet willing to commit. Now, I have a shrewd guess that a certain hot-headed Duke
behind the rest of the army instead of out in front. And now Gloucester's division is moving forward. So what you're going to see is a solid block of Yorkist army that is now going to turn the tables on the Lancastrians. And now it's the exact reverse of what has happened. The Prince of Wales and the Earl of Devon are leading forward 2/3 of the Lancastrian army against the Yorkists, while the tired-out division of Somerset remains behind. This is brave and seizing the initiative, but it's a really risky thing to do, to go up against a well-prepared enemy with only 2/3 of your army.
risky, but do you think it was deliberate, or is this a breakdown in communications on the Lancastrian side, do you think?
I think it is. I think the commanders are just not working together, whereas Edward's commanders are. I have a bad feeling about all this.
Yes, I feel communications between Somerset and Wenlock may have broken down.
And with Richard of Gloucester's division, with the young Duke right out in front of it, encouraging his men, the white plumes in his helmet, Somerset's men are pinned down. They dare not surge forward for fear of being hit by Richard again. They're immobilised. And there's been a fight. Over in front of Somerset's wing, we see a commander fall. Could that be Lord Wenlock, who's come across to confer with Somerset? He's actually down. What seems to have happened is that the Duke of Somerset has just hit Lord Wenlock with that poleaxe of his, and dealt him a fatal blow. Discipline is showing itself. You have a straight line of army there with the king out in front, whereas the Lancastrian army is still trying desperately to sort itself.
And now the entire Yorkist army moves forwards like a great wave of Murray and azure.
Which is just the right thing to do, because with Somerset's wing isolated over here on the right of the Lancastrians, the rest of their army is disjointed. And King Edward is leading his spearhead of men straight through to the centre. Can the Lancastrians plug that gap in their line that Somerset has opened? If they can't, they're finished.
Sides engage at some speed there with a clash much faster than the first two waves we saw go in earlier on. You have the unmistakable sound of medieval battle, you have the cries of the men, and you have that metal on metal noise that always reminds me of a cutlery drawer falling downstairs.
You defeated or victorious in front of you today actually wins reputation, not just for the individual fighters, but for their units as well. Those who perform well in front of you now will be celebrating tonight.
And the men start to fall to the initial move.
Yes, Gloucester's keeping Somerset pinned down again. His men are very tired, like Somerset's. As long as Gloucester remains facing their enemy are going to win. But he's doing better. Following the rest of the army, Richard of Gloucester's left wing is now moving forward against the Duke of Somerset and his weary Lancastrians.
You can see it's somewhat greasy underfoot with all the blood, entrails and the dry grass.
Behind them at what's happening, the Yorkist army is moving up to support its king, ready to strike, while the Lancastrian army once again is broken into three great divisions.
And the Prince of Wales appears just to have performed an extremely ungentlemanly act upon the body of the king. They both grab their swords, and this is where it gets about as personal as it can.
The two leaders of the respective armies, the two branches of royalty, hacking at each other with two-handed swords. And the prince is down for a moment, but he's recovered himself and has given as good as he got, slapping Edward again, a glancing blow. And the Yorkist army is surging forward to support its king. They're breaking up the single combat, and Lancaster, both sides clash in the centre, each one trying desperately to save their leader. And the result is a chaotic melee. On the far side, Hastings is charging forward towards Devon and striking home. And Somerset's division, again pinned down by Richard of Gloucester, remains worn out on the left-hand side of the field.
Although Somerset's men are formed up into a very similar, stockier formation, less of a line, more of a body of men there.
Well, in that case, he needs to get them moving fast, because now Richard is moving up fast. Yes, Somerset's line, like a spearhead aimed straight at the enemy, is heading in, determined to break Richard's line and scatter it to the four winds. This is a very clever manoeuvre, but a desperate one. If Richard can halt it, he's won.
See the heaviest armed men at the front, with power behind them to push them into the Duke of Gloucester's troops there. And they go in at a run, using all of that forward momentum. Near enough, there we go, straight through the line here. The Lancastrians have broken through the Yorkist line.
Yes, but they've got surrounded. By putting all his strength into the centre like that in one big punch, Somerset has got himself in the middle of Richard of Gloucester's men, and they're all round his. His tactic is backfiring disastrously.
For a moment then it looked hopeful, but now, no. The body count is increasing rapidly, and a lot of it, from what I can see, is the Lancastrian troops are falling. Some of them are in retreat, some of them are in rout, going towards the river.
Yes, Somerset's men are going down like wheat before a combine harvester, and the more sensible are now actually on the run. They're breaking. The Lancastrian right wing is crumbling. Somerset himself is legging it for the horizon.
He's going for sanctuary in the Abbey, which he hopes is going to give him a chance to live to fight another day. Sadly, as history tells us, this didn't happen on a technicality.
Yes, the whole Lancastrian army is collapsing.
It is.
The centre and the other wing are going too. This is it, the Yorkists have won. What's going to happen to the Prince of Wales?
Where is the Prince of Wales?
As he's coming towards us,
there's the Prince
he's
of Wales.
leading his bodyguard forward.
From here, yes. See the banner here of the Prince of Wales?
It's a lost attempt to seek out King Edward himself on the field as his army runs behind him. Kill Edward personally and snatch victory from defeat in one last heroic gesture.
You see the Yorkist army just chasing off the last of the Lancastrians over on the far left of the battlefield. So we've got the Prince of Wales here, bareheaded.
Standing at bay, and on the other side, on the right, there is Edward. Edward with a bodyguard larger than the prince's, seeing the prince standing with his men. The prince intended to make Edward his prey, but it looks as if Edward is going to try and have him for dinner. And now they come together. And the prince's men dash forward into an enemy twice their numbers. King Edward stands back, as does the prince, and watch their men clash as the prince's men go down, overwhelmed by a force too large to tackle. And the prince now stands alone, the last hope of the House of Lancaster, facing an enemy all round him and a triumphant king, 10 years older than he is, striding forward to fight. They're trading insults.
Disputing the paternity of the Prince of Wales by the sound of it as well.
Yes, that's the worst insult that can be uttered. Both their helmets are off. And now they fight. And the prince is doing well. The king's age, only 28, but it's a few years on. The teenager is showing. The prince is moving faster, more agile.
The king is getting a few good shots in on the lower body though, and that's going to tire the Prince of Wales out. Not enough to kill him,
Yes.
but enough to slow him down.
Yeah, the prince has got the energy, but the duke... Oh, no, the king has got the... He's been hit by the prince. The prince has landed 2 tremendous blows on the king's arm.
Oh.
The king has struck back and stabbed the prince in the belly. And the prince is down. The king kicks him, insults him. And his triumphant men shout a York all round. The prince heaves himself up upon his hands and his knees. He's he was offered mercy, but shouted Lancaster instead, and received a fatal blow. The prince Prince of Wales is dead. The House of Lancaster is over. And the exhausted king is helped to his feet.
Ladies and gentlemen, the day belongs to York.